Hi, second grade readers. Today we are going to continue our lessons on adjectives, the words this week that we have been studying that describe people, places, and things. Adjectives describe nouns, and adjectives are such fun words to work with because they add so much voice and so much description to our writing and our reading. On Wednesday, I shared with you one of my favorite books. I used an adjective to describe that book. Favorite describes this book for me because I have loved the story of Tops and Bottoms and the adaptations that it takes from fairy tales. And it is an interesting book as well to me. So today we're going to use that story, that read aloud, to practice with some of those adjectives that describe these two characters. On Wednesday, I asked you, as you were listening to the story, to think about words that you could use or adjectives that would describe both the character of Bear and Hare. So today, before we started, I wanted to go to two specific pages of text. And I'm going to hold that page up for just a minute and let you reread it because I've already read it to you. And as you're reading, I want you to check out those illustrations that were such descriptive pictures of the character of Bear. And then I'm going to let you read one other page that talked about Hare and his family. I loved this illustration of Hare's family. It reminded me of the little old woman in the shoe. But I'm going to let you read that text very closely. And as you're reading, I want you to think about some adjectives that you might see in the text that we could use to describe these two characters. So back on this first page, as you were reading, they described Bear and they said that he was a very lazy bear. Lazy is a good word to describe him. And when I was looking at that picture of him, I could use some other words that are synonyms for lazy to describe his character. He has his shoes untied. He's laying around not working. So there were lots of words there that we could use. And one of the words that I hope you saw as you were reading was the word lazy. He was a lazy bear. So I am going to use that adjective to describe his character. He was lazy. And just as Bear was lazy, was Hare lazy? No. On that page, it described him and it said that he was clever. He had some clever ideas. He had a clever solution to his problem. So we're going to use clever to describe Hare. They were opposites of each other, weren't they? They were. Okay, so think about some other words that could go along with Bear being lazy. This picture showed him doing something. He was sleeping, and we could turn that sleeping into an adjective by saying that he was sleepy. He slept all the time. Hare was getting away with things because Bear was sleeping the day away. So lazy and sleepy could kind of go together. What about this one? The opposite of lazy. Hare and his family were hardworking, weren't they? Those are good adjectives to describe Hare. They got out there and watered and weeded and worked hard to make that garden work. Now, in the word clever to describe Hare, I want to ask you something. Do you think he was very smart? Do you think Hare was a smart character? Every time I read this book, I do think that Hare is a smart character because He came up with a solution to his problem, and every time he came up with a solution, he figured out a way to be smart about it and get the most profitable parts of his crop to help his family. So even though some people might consider him a tricky character, thinking he was tricking the bear, I choose to not consider him tricky, but I consider that cleverness being smart, because he had a need and he was meeting his need. On the other hand, bear over there was this word. Instead of getting up and working and being hardworking, he was sluggish. He just laid around all day. Those illustrations are so good at describing him as being sluggish. His shoes were untied, as we talked about. He's flopped around, not doing a thing, while Rabbit is working right in front of him. He misses it all because he was sluggish. So sluggish would be an adjective that would describe him. I wrote down this adjective because it used a form of this word in the beginning page that you read. It said that Bear had a lot of wealth, not because of his work, but because of the work of his dad. So if we were describing his character, wealth is a thing, but you can turn that into an adjective by adding a Y to the end of it. He was wealthy. He had a lot of money, so that's why he thought it was okay to sleep all day. He thought it was fine to be lazy because he had money, so he was wealthy. On the other hand, there was a reason that Hare was being so hardworking. In the page that you read that I showed you the excerpt from, Mama Hare said, "Our babies are hungry." And that is an adjective that none of us like to be hungry. But he went to work to solve that problem of his kids being hungry. So hungry could be an adjective that described Hare and his family. Okay, let's see what else I have written as some good adjectives. Think about your writing and the adjectives that I have up here. It would be real easy to say, Bear slept all day and Hare worked and solved the problems. But look at all these fun words we can add to our voice and our writing about these characters. If we were writing a reader's response about which one was our favorite and why. Again, kind of like wealth, I added a Y to the end. He did sneak around. This character did sneak around with his work to get the best parts of the produce, but he was described as being sneaky. Hare or bear? You're right. That definitely goes on the Hare side. He was sneaky. Bear kept saying, "You're tricking me. You're tricking me." And he wasn't really tricking him. He planned it. He was just very careful in how he planned it. What about this one? This adjective was on those pages that I was asking you to read at the beginning. One of the characters was risky. Again, that Y. You take a risk, but he was risky in his plans. Yep. Again, that was Hare. He was risky, and he had lost a risky bet. On this one, it wasn't a risky bet because he was doing the work. He was risking giving it a try, but all he had to try was to find out if Bear would say yes or no, and every time Bear said yes, so his risk was worth the effort. I had to look this one up. This one was a synonym for one of the adjectives that we already used to describe him. Who was careless? Didn't have a care in the world. He just laid around, didn't he? Bear was careless. You are exactly right. Bear was careless. He was lazy. He was sluggish. He slept all the time. He was sleepy. So he was careless about his answer. He said, "Sure, I'll give you that part of the crop." And he didn't think through it, and he laid around and let it happen, and he lost out the part of the crop that was profitable. Okay, last two. Here we go. Sloppy. Yes, I thought that Bear, with those untied shoes and flopping around on that chair and not being kept with his necktie flopped over, he was sloppy. But this is the word that we are all being right now because we are trying some new things, and Hare tried to solve his problem. He did not give up. And we talk about this as one of our character words, and I thought Hare demonstrated this character trait. He was perseverant. He did not quit. He wanted to take care of his family and give them the things they needed. And right now, we are being perseverant. We are all sad that we can't go back to school. I was so sad when I heard that. But we know that we have good work to finish strong. And so we are not quitting. We are keeping our learning going. And we are going to stay strong, just like a rabbit finished strong. And he was able to go back and buy that part of the farm from the bear. And guess what? The bear learned from his mistake. So he ended up growing from this process, just like we are growing from our process. And Hare was perseverant. And that is a character trait that we talk about at school a lot. When things are tough, we don't give up. Hare didn't give up. You and I aren't giving up on our second grade learning. We've got a month to go. And it's different not getting to learn together. But guess what? I never thought I'd know how to do a video on YouTube, and I've learned. You're learning new things. I bet you didn't use the word perseverant in your language and writing and reading. So together we are going to continue growing in our adjectives, using them to describe our stories, using them to describe things that are happening as we're being authors, and we are going to continue to learn together. I look forward to seeing you next week. I hope you have a great weekend. A great weekend. Good adjective there. And we will learn more next week.